Greetings! This is FXJohnny, and this is a quick and to the point Blender tutorial. If you don't have Blender installed yet, it's super easy. Go to blender.org, click where it says download, and download the latest version. After it's installed, you can start Blender. This tutorial doesn't try to teach you everything at once. We're not even going to worry about all these menus and panels. For now, we'll focus on just the simplest ways to adjust the 3D view and to transform an object. If you're using a 2-button mouse or a laptop, there are special instructions for you at the end of this video. This tutorial moves quickly, so be ready to pause so you can practice what you learn as we go along. Also, there is a graphic showing the mouse buttons and keys we press. Okay, let's go! This is a camera, and this is a light. But we're not using those today, just the cube. Selecting. When you click, that means left click to select an object, there is an orange highlight. To deselect it, click somewhere in empty space, or press Alt-A to deselect. If there are multiple objects to select, you can drag select them with the Select Box tool, which is active by default. Viewport Navigation. Serious Blender users use hotkeys or keyboard shortcuts to view things and manipulate objects. But first, let's try out Blender's 3D gizmos. To zoom the view, you can use the magnifying glass gizmo. Just click and move the mouse up or down. But it's faster to just use the middle mouse button scroll wheel from anywhere on the screen. Don't click it, just scroll the wheel to zoom in and out. To rotate the view, you can use this handy gizmo. If you click on one of the letters, you can view the scene from the front, back, left, right, top, or bottom. Notice it also shows you the keyboard number pad shortcut that you can use instead. You can free rotate the view by clicking in this area and moving the mouse. But it's quicker to rotate the view by simply clicking and holding the middle mouse button and then dragging the mouse around. And to move the view, you can click the hand gizmo, then use the mouse to move around on the viewport. But you can also use the middle mouse button, but this time, first press and hold the Shift key, then use the middle mouse button to drag the view around. When you move the view, it also moves your center of rotation with it. Recenter the view. Sometimes the viewport doesn't show you what you want, but you can recenter the view on an object of your choice. Select the object, then press the period key on the numeric keypad. This is also available in the View menu as Frame Selected. If there are many objects in your scene, you can use Frame All. Then Blender will zoom accordingly to show you all of them on the screen, and the center of view is now set to the center of the collection of objects. But the numeric period key can do this too. Just select all, press A, or drag select any number of objects. Press period on the numeric keypad. Blender will zoom accordingly to whatever you have selected, and they will become the center of rotation. First, a little bit about the 3D space we will be working in. The 3D space is defined by 3 global axes. The X-axis, representing side-to-side movement, Y-axis for the front-to-back movement, and Z-axis goes from top to bottom. It's similar to north, south, east, west, plus elevation. But did you know there is a 4th axis? The Viewport Axis is basically your line of sight as you look straight through the center of the screen into the 3D space to the focal point. When you rotate the view, the 3D space doesn't change. You are moving around in the space to change your viewpoint. When you move the view, you are moving, and your focal point moves with you. And when you zoom the view, you are moving in and out. Object transformation. Over here on the left side in the Tool menu, there are tools to move, rotate, or scale an object. We are going to look at them. However, it's best to just learn the hotkeys instead. Here's a quick spoiler. G to grab and move something, R to rotate, and S to scale. And now, to rotate an object. Let's click this one to rotate the cube. If the cube is selected, you'll see the rotation gizmo. Let's start with the white circle. It works the same as pressing hotkey R to rotate. By default, the object will rotate on the viewport axis as you move the mouse. A beach ball will help us visualize this better. On your screen it looks like this, but this is how it would look if you could go inside Blender. This disc will help us see the angle of rotation better. If you rotate the view to another angle, and now how this looks on your screen. And from another angle. And how it looks on your screen. But now, let's use the color-coded circle rings to rotate on a single global axis, such as X, Y, or Z. It's important to know you can also just press X, Y, or Z on the keyboard to select the axis to use. Now, instead of the gizmo, it's easiest and fastest to just press the hotkey R on the keyboard to rotate something. Like before, the default rotation is on the viewport axis until you press X, Y, or Z to select a single axis. No gizmo needed. By the way, you can cancel a transformation in progress by clicking the right mouse button, or press Escape on the keyboard. Otherwise, you can apply the transformation by clicking the left mouse button, or pressing Enter on the keyboard. If you don't like the result, you can undo it with Ctrl-Z, just like any other program. To move an object, let's click this one to move the cube. Or yes, press the hotkey. G to grab the object instead of using the gizmo. But let's click inside the white circle. By default, the object moves up, down, left, right in relation to the viewport. To visualize this, notice the ball moves in relation to this reference plane, which is always parallel to the viewport. This is what you see, and this is what's actually happening. Always moving according to the angle of the viewport. Now back to the gizmo. Let's use the colored arrows to move the cube on the X, Y, or Z axis. Or if you are using the white circle or hotkey G to move it, just press X, Y, or Z on the keyboard to select the axis. But now look at these other little tools on the gizmo. These let you move the cube along two axes at the same time. Basically, it locks one axis so you can freely use the other two. This is great for moving something around on the floor, or on a wall. There are hotkeys for these as well. Shift plus Z locks the Z axis so it can only move on X and Y. Shift plus X so it can only move on Y and Z. Shift plus Y, which locks the Y axis, so it only moves on X and Z. To scale an object. This one is the scaling tool. If you click inside the white circle, the whole object resizes in every direction. It stays the same shape, but it just gets bigger or smaller. Hotkey for this is S. But using the gizmo, you can choose one axis to scale using the colored squares. Or after you start to resize it, you can press X, Y, or Z to select one axis to scale. Now, on the gizmo, with these little things, you can scale it in two directions at once, similar to what we did before when moving. The hotkeys for this are Shift X, Shift Y, or Shift Z. For example, we can SZ to squash it a bit, then Shift plus Z to stretch it out without affecting the height. Experiment a little bit. Here is a quick recap of what we covered today. The key to real learning is repetition. Do it again and again. There are many more ways to select and transform objects, but these will help you to get started and able to follow along better in other tutorials. And that's it for this quick and to the point Blender tutorial. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this, please visit my channel and subscribe. This is FXJohnny. God bless and bye for now. Finally, if you are using a 2-button mouse or a laptop, just go to Edit, Preferences, Input. Then in the mouse section, select Emulate 3-button mouse. Now you can press the Alt key and the left mouse button together and Blender will interpret it as a middle mouse event. Or to move around, Shift, then Alt, then the left mouse button. To zoom in or out, press Ctrl Alt left mouse button and move the mouse. And that's it. Thanks again and see you next time.